Hello and welcome again in the channel. And the last part, perhaps about the rhetorical figures, the most disturbing elements. This time it is part 5. Just previous few days ago, part 4 was released. And in this video, we are going to learn metonymy and synecdoche, the most critical sections that usually people do not understand. Here in this video, we are going to decipher what is metonymy and what is synecdoche step by step. Without wasting time, let us move on to the details of the video. Here, the first slide that you have to understand about metonymy. What is its definition? Metonymy is a type of figurative language. That means it is a rhetorical figure in which an object or concept is referred to not by its own name, but instead by the name of something closely associated with it. So what you have to remember, there is a close association of something and something. So there is a substitution which you need to remember, and the substituted part has the close relation to what it is substituted. Okay, without blabbering, let us get certain examples first. Here are certain examples that you need to follow. See, here metonymy is the crown. So in the sentence, we will swear loyalty to the crown. Crown is in the place of a royal person, so it is meant as a royal person. The White House or the Oval Office used in place of the president or White House staff. The White House will be making an announcement around noon. So it is not the White House which will make the announcement. The staff of the White House or the Oval Office perhaps is going to make the announcement. Suit in place of business people. If we don't get these reports in today, the suits will be after us. So suits are actually is referring to the business people. So there are close relationships between what is meant and what is said. The last one is the dish, and before that there is heart. Both in the sentences, my dear, you have all of my heart. So heart is here referred to the love or emotion, and dish is here for an entire plate of food. That fantasy fish dish you made was the best of the evening. So these are the examples of metonymy where you can have the closest relation between the substituted part and the main part. Okay, just stop here because there will be following more examples. This is just the beginning. So again, in the next slide, we are going to understand the examples again. Referring to the American technology industry as Silicon Valley, referring to the American advertising industry as Madison Avenue, referring to the American film industry or celebrity culture as you all know, Hollywood, and referring to a member of British royal family is the crown. So these are the examples of metonymy. Don't worry, there will be more examples to follow. Now, there are parts of metonymy, and we are going to deal with these parts again. First one is symbol or sign for the thing symbolized, instrument or organ for the agent, author for its work and place for its production, container for the thing contained, and the last one is effect for the cause and cause for the effect. What you have to do when you just identify the figure of speech, then do not just say what is it, you have to explain it and explain them in that way. Suppose there is an example, there is a sentence, and you understand that this is an example of metonymy. So what you have to do, you should not call this just a metonymy. You have to mention in which part it belongs to. For example, it belongs to the instrument or organ for the agent. How? I am going to show you in the next slide. So one after another, we are going to understand. So the first one is symbol or sign for the thing symbolized. From the cradle to the grave. See here, for your convenience, I have made here cradle infancy and grave death. So the color, I have changed it in the red. The cradle is the symbol for infancy, grave is the symbol of death. They are closely associated, but this is an example of metonymy. Why? Because this is a symbol for or the sign for the thing symbolized. The second part is instrument or organ for the agent. The pen is mightier than the sword. He speaks a clear tongue. In both these examples, you see pen is here mightier than the sword. So pen is referring to or the instrument. Pen is the instrument is referring to the writer, and the sword is another instrument is referring to the fighter. He speaks a clear tongue. This is the organ. So clarified speech. He speaks well. He speaks beautifully or nicely or clearly or outspoken. So these are the examples where instrument or organ, instrument as a pen or sword, organ as if in tongue. These are closely associated what is meant with. So this is an example, therefore, not only of metonymy, but also part, instrument, or organ for the agent. In the next part, author for its work and place for its production. Example of was he was reading Milton, so the works of Milton. All Arabia breathes from the yonder box. Arabia stands for the perfume of Arabia. So you are mentioning Arabia, but you are referring to the perfume. You are mentioning Milton, but you are referring to the books of Milton. You are referring to Shakespeare, but you are actually referring to the books of Shakespeare or the plays of Shakespeare. This is how a metonymy works. And this part calls author for its work and place for its production. The first example, he was reading Milton, is this the author for its work. The second example, Arabia is place for its production. Arabia is a good place of producing perfume, good quality of perfume. The next one is container for the thing contained. The kettle boils. That means definitely kettle is not boiling. Inside water is boiling. So here container is the kettle and the thing contained is the water. All right, the tumbler is boiling. That means the milk inside the tumbler is boiling. It is not the tumbler, it is not the kettle. So this is an example of metonymy again, and this belongs to the part of container for the thing contained. The last one of this, the effect for the cause and cause for the effect. See, by default, this line is an example of chiasmus, and I have already explained in other videos what is called a chiasmus, and this is an example of chiasmus, effect for the cause and cause for the effect. Well, gray hairs, old age should be respected. Gray hairs here, hairs or gray hairs in total, suggesting old age. So this is a reference effect for the cause. So the effect is gray hairs, cause is the old age. He writes a good hand. Say handwriting. Hand is here handwriting. Cause for the effect. So the cause is the handwriting, and the effect is it is good. So handwriting seems to be good or becomes good because of the hand. Handwriting and hand are closely associated, therefore, it is an example of metonymy, and this sentence belongs to the part of cause for the effect. The last one and the first one, effect for the cause. Hope you understood. Yes, there again will be more examples to follow. Just wait. Here are examples from literary texts. Now, there are two examples. The first one is taken from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Perhaps the most iconic use of metonymy in literature comes from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, where Mark Antony says, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears." He is here, ears, using the word ears to refer to the act of listening. He is speaking everyone to pay attention to the speech, but mentioning not all the people. It's only or he is only mentioning the ears. So this is an example of metonymy. Now find out which part it belongs to, or the sentence belongs to which part of metonymy. And the second example is taken from John Keats's Ode to a Nightingale, this very famous ode. And here Keats wrote, "Oh, for a draught of vintage that had been cooled a long age in the deep delved earth." Keats here using vintage, the word vintage instead of wine. He can easily use wine, not vintage. But here it is essential to use that word because Keats has to balance the iambic pentameter too. And most significantly, instead of wine, if he used vintage, then the line followed the 10 syllabic part. So instead of wine, when Keats used vintage, the word, it seems a metonymy because these are closely related. Vintage means old, age old wine. So it is also preserving the proper rhythm. So these are two good examples from literary texts. There are a lot. I have just chosen these two. Now we have to understand synecdoche. What is synecdoche? Again, synecdoche is like metonymy, but there is a slight difference. A figure of speech in which most often a part of something is used to refer to its whole. For example, the captain commands 100 sails. In this example, see here, sails refer to the ships. So ships being the thing of which sail is just a part. Ship is the complete thing, sail is just one part. Now, in synecdoche, one thing is substituted for the another just in metonymy. Now, there are more examples. In this box, I have to give you the examples. There are three examples that I have suggested for you. The phrase hired hands can be used to refer to workers. The farmer needed to bring on some hired hands. See here, association is there, but not close association like metonymy. Second example, the word bread can be used to represent food. I'm looking forward to breaking bread with you. The third one is what boots refers to soldiers. We need to get boots on the ground to help with the recovery effort. So instead of saying soldiers, the speaker is mentioning boots. Instead of saying food, the speaker is mentioning bread. Instead of saying people with helping hands, so hired hands is mentioned, the phrase is mentioned. So in that way, synecdoche represents a substituted format, something a part of the whole. Synecdoche also has certain parts, and we also have to understand these parts. But before that, we need to get more examples. The first one is nice wheels, a synecdoche in which wheel stands in for the car that they are part of. What's the head count? That head count suggests the people, number of people instead of head. Denver own 4-2. That means a whole to part synecdoche is here, in which the name of the entire city of Denver is used to mean one of its sports teams. The brains help me with my homework. See here, brains. The brain being, of course, only part of the body, a complete body. So a part to whole synecdoche is here. Many people use the genetic brand products. For example, if you call that facial tissues as Kleenex, or call adhesive bandages as band-aids, or drink as Coke, whenever you are having soft drink, you are actually using a synecdoche. So synecdoche is everywhere. Yes, without knowing, we are using it deliberately. Now, before more examples to get, we need to understand its parts. The first one is part for the whole. Second was whole for the part. Third one is abstract for the concrete, concrete for the abstract, individual for the class, and material for the thing made. Now, how you can remember, see here, just count the first letter of each one in synecdoche as in metonymy too. See this Pwacim. So Pwacim. And in that metonymy part, in the same way, you can do uh, take the first letter of each part, and then just try to remember that. In case of metonymy, what you can remember is siasen, symbol or sign for the thing symbolized, instrument or organ for the agent. In that way, just like wasim, to remember the parts together. Now, in these parts, what you have to understand from the beginning, the first one, part for the whole. Here, she is a woman of 80 winters. See, winters is years. Winter is a part of the complete year. So there are more seasons to follow. There are more seasons in a complete year. And 80 winters suggest that 80 years. She passed 80 years. So this is the part for the whole. The whole is the year, and this is the part winter. Second one is the whole for the part England won against Australia. The players of England won against the players of Australia. So these are team players, team members are mentioned. But in the sentence, what you get England and Australia. This is the whole for the part. Whole is mentioned, England and Australia, but part is referred or mentioned. Third one is abstract for the concrete. Let not ambition mocks their useful toil. Ambition, yes, sometimes you may call this is also another example of personification, where mocking is a quality of human being. In that sense, you can use this as an example of personification. Another rhetorical figure which I cleared in earlier videos, the link will be in this video too. But here, more appropriately, this is an example of synecdoche, and it belongs to the part of abstract for the concrete. Let not ambition. Ambition is here the abstract idea. The ambitious people is here meant. So those people mock their useful toil. So this is an abstract for the concrete example. Concrete for the abstract, on the other hand, he felt the poet. See, poet is a concrete aspect, but the abstract is meant the poetic feelings. So you cannot feel the poet, you can feel the poetic feeling. So whenever you read a poem, and in that poem, what you need to get is the feeling of the poet. In that way, the concrete is mentioned, but abstract is here referred. So in that way, this is an example of synecdoche, and it belongs to the part of concrete for the abstract. The next one is individual for the class. Bankim Chandra was the Scott of Bengal. So Scott, Walter Scott, great historian, writer of historic novel. So Bankim Chandra is the Scott of Bengal. Scott is therefore referring to the class of world literary persona. So here, individual Bankim Chandra is referring to the class of people, the good people, the writers. So the Scott belong to the a standard position. So this individual is for the class. Next one is material for the thing made. He was clad in steel. Steel is the material and it is meant armor. So material for the thing made. Armor is made by steel. The material steel is used to mention the armor. Now here again we have literary examples just like in metonymy. These two boxes will show you two different literary examples. The first one is taken from the Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. In Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Samuel Taylor Coleridge uses synecdoche in the lines, "The western wave was all aflame, the day was well nigh done, almost upon the western wave rested the broad bright sun." Here, wave stands in for the whole ocean, or at least the part of the ocean larger than a wave that is relevant to the text. So when the ancient mariner says the western wave, he is referring to the ocean to the west, extending to the western horizon. So this is the part for the whole and whole for the part issue. This is a good example of synecdoche. The second example is taken from Shakespeare's Macbeth. In Act 4, Scene 3, Shakespeare's Macbeth, angry Macbeth kicks out a servant by saying, "Take thy face hence." Here, thy face stands in for you, that the person. So it is not that you are taking your face only, you are taking your complete body. So the part of the body, face, is mentioned. Take thy face means take yourself out of this place. Here, Macbeth simply telling the servant to leave, but this use of synecdoche makes the tone of his command more harsh and insulting, showing the audience how angry he really is. So, synecdoche is used also to show the mood, temperament, the emotion, etc. Sometimes we do express or we express synecdoche to express our emotion. We use synecdoche to express the inner thoughts of ourselves. Now here you finally have to understand how does synecdoche differ from metonymy, because there is a high chance that you get confused with synecdoche and metonymy as both have similar functions. Go through the following, find out what makes synecdoche and metonymy different from each other. So there is a chart, synecdoche and metonymy. You know what is metonymy? A figure of speech in which a part of something is used to refer to the whole thing. The example is here. We are planning to hire some more hands. Here, the word hands refer to the people or employee. We have already got it. And in metonymy, a figure of speech in which a term, an object, or an idea is substituted by another term that is closely related to it. It would be easier if you could give a hand. See here, the same example with a hand. But here, the word hand is substituted to mean help, close, or closer relation. Don't get confused because closer relation suggests not that hand is closely related with my body. This is not the part. This is one part, my hand, which is a smaller part of the bigger part, a complete part of my body. This is synecdoche. And in metonymy, closer relation suggests that you have the word and it is somehow connected with the main frame. There is no such part for the whole or whole for the part. Now you have to understand the difference between how does metaphor and metonymy differs. Metaphor and metonymy are both figures of speech, but they operate in different ways. Whereas in metaphor, figure of speech that makes a direct comparison between two unrelated things, unallied objects, suggesting that they are the same. For example, he is the apple of my eye. He uses the matter of an apple of my eye to suggest that someone is very dear or precious. So something is given and it is expressed in different ways. On the other hand, metonymy is a figure of speech in which a word is replaced by another word with which it is closely associated. Association could be based on contiguity, similarity, or some other relationship. So the example says, using the White House to refer to the US government or the crown to refer to another, to a monarch, or examples of metonymy. So whereas in metaphor you have a direct comparison, but in metonymy there is indeed no as such comparison, but there is a mention of closer relationship, a substituted kind of reference. In metonymy there is replacement, but in metaphor there is no replacement, there is connection, there is comparison, or direct, not explicit but implied comparison. Explicit comparison is found in simile. So these are the basic difference between metaphor and metonymy. Even if after that, if you don't understand, just go through these lines and you can understand easily. In the next part, you have these examples for yourself. I have given you these examples for you to do. Oops, these are jumbled. Don't worry. Here they are. Just pick one and try to find out whether you can do it or not, whether you can identify whether this is an example of metonymy or synecdoche or not. Just find out. These are given for you. It is your page. Do it yourself. Now let us talk about the sources, the probable sources. These are five sources, five internet sources. My personal favorite is the last one, the fifth, because in this one, although the smartblogger.com here, Synecdoche is given. Here you can find also metonymy, and here you can also find the parts of metonymy and synecdoche together. So just follow this if you want more to get. Now, finally, I have to mention thank you very much to support me for watching this video till to the end, and hope we will meet again very soon with a new video. Till then, stay healthy, stay blessed. Thank you.